We have made it to Friday. It's Friday, June 11th, and you are tuning into Healthy by Association. We have a big show lined up for you today. We're going to start with our lead story, mindfulness tips to help boost your work focus and productivity. I don't know any of us who couldn't use a little bit of that. Angela's going to talk about turning 49 and what it might look like to accomplish 50 new things before she turns 50. Jim has on deck for us a self-care checklist, and our special guest today is Christine Johnson, CAE, and she's going to be telling us all about her health and wellness journey. All of that and more on today's show. Let's get started.
Welcome to your Healthy by Association Weekly Wellness Check with Aaron Wolowick, Angela Pelk, and Jim Thompson.
Welcome, everyone. Once again, this is Healthy by Association. My name is Aaron Wolowick. It is Friday, June 11th, and we have done it, friends. We have made it to another Friday, and so it's time for your weekly wellness check. Our special guest today, as I've said, is Christine Johnson, CIE. We're so excited to have her today. And Christine, we want to welcome you to the show. Maybe you'll tell us a little bit about you, where you join us from, and a little bit more about your health and wellness connection.
Thank you for having me. I'm Christine Johnson. I'm based in the Raleigh area, North Carolina, and employed by First Point Management Resources, working for medical board certification body. And my health and wellness journey has been kind of all over the place. I always think back to college, like when I had to exercise for PE class, through doing things as an adult. And I think, becoming a parent, working full time, and then the pandemic, it's definitely been interesting, but I look forward to sharing with you guys and learning from you too.
Awesome. Well, we'll dig in a little bit more in a little while, but a familiar face is back on the panel this week. Jim, it's great to see you this week, as always. Maybe you'll do a little check-in. Tell us where you are on that scale from 1 to 10, how you might rate your health and wellness this week, and tell us a little bit more about why.
Sure. So I would say I am probably in the 8 range. Been doing really good with my, I've been really trying to focus on walking, getting a lot of steps in, although the past 2 days have not been that great with doing graduation stuff with my son and some various other things. Been kind of distracted by that, but consistently been averaging, 9,500, 10,000 steps a day for the past about 10 days or so. Been eating good, sleeping pretty decently, like I said, my son graduated from high school this week, so I'm sort of at a different level right now. So.
That's awesome. Well, it's good to see you. We appreciate you being here with us and checking in. And of course, best of luck and well wishes to him as he continues on with the next chapter of his life. So many sort of grads and dads season right now. So for our next sort of check-in, Angela, it's good to see you. I said that pop of lipstick on you this week looks great. Where are you this week?
I'm in a 9. I'm in a 9. I did some good meal prep this week. I bought, I'll have to post a picture this weekend in the Facebook group. I bought a gallon of water that's got like the hour markers on it, like 7 a.m. You're doing great. 9 a.m. Keep it up. I drank the whole thing yesterday. I've been having these like really tight and bloaty hands on my walks. I'm like, certainly more water will help. So I downed that whole thing this morning on my walk. We did 5 miles this morning, and I'm like, I still have the bloaty hands. So we're having some mega humidity here in Michigan. So I don't know if that's part of it, but food's been good. Meal prep has been good. Exercise has been good. And the mood, like the mental mood has been good though too. So yeah, 9. Fullness.
Well, I mean, that's amazing. I was trying to think about awesome. What sort of percentage of a point I would use this week. Part of me said that I was going to say like 9.75 or something like that, because even despite these, the weather, the humidity, the heat, we've still been walking every morning, every evening. And so I feel great about that. Good on food. But I was remembering that yesterday when I went to the chiropractor, I got some like reminder or some coaching from my chiropractor who said, there's a lot of tension going on in your neck. And, if only you would do some more stretching and posture
Mm.
exercises, it probably would be even better. Are you carrying any stress right now? And I was just like, carrying any stress? I was like, we're just getting back to like in-person meetings, and like, yes, like the floodgates have opened. And so I take that 9.75 down a few notches. I don't know, maybe like 8 or 8.5, something like that. But, it's just a reminder that, it's hard in isolation to just focus on our health and wellness. There are so many elements and components that plug into that number and into that equation for us that, we're full-bodied, integrated beings
Yeah.
in which our personal lives also creep into. And so I'm just remembering the effects that stress and anxiety have on our actual physical bodies, I think is important to remember. But Christine, certainly want to round out our weekly wellness check-in with you. Obviously, by now you have gotten the drift on scale from 1 to 10. Maybe where would you rate your health and wellness this week? Maybe tell us why.
Okay. Oh, and Angela, I was waving this as you were talking.
Yes.
I use it to like at least measure myself out to see where I am. I would say I'm at a
Yeah.
7. I was scheduled for my first ever colonoscopy, which got canceled, but that's a whole nother story. Voluntarily because of family history, I was like, let me go ahead and get it done. I'm following a meal plan right now through this E2M personal training, which is out of Charlotte, and it's online. And I've been doing pretty good with the food. But I think the biggest thing is that I don't beat myself up. Like I went out to eat with someone and I said, okay, I'm going to pick this. This is what I'm going to have. And I'm not going to feel bad about it, and just kind of reset. So I'm not going down, a binge hole or whatever. And, working on my sleep. That's the one thing that I need to always work on. But I'd say 7. I feel pretty good about it.
Good, good. Well, thanks for checking in. Our lead story today is focused on mindfulness. So, mindfulness tips to help boost your focus and productivity, how to use mindfulness techniques to shift your perspective and improve the way you work. Of course, as always, I'll include the link to this article in the notes, in the comments afterwards. But for the meantime, I just want to run through a couple of these tips and tricks. I'll have the panel sort of listen to them as I introduce. And then, like always, I'll just kind of go around the group to see sort of what resonates with you or what kind of you gravitated toward. So here again are some of the tips. And again, individual people have introduced them. So carve out small movement breaks throughout the day. I think I've shared before that typically midday around lunchtime, I do take a 10-minute walk in addition to some of the other outdoor movement activities. And certainly that is helpful for me. Pause for a 60-second meditation. We've talked on the show before about the importance of sort of taking time to clear your head and to reconnect with yourself, with your work, with your day. Set a timer for focused work and have dedicated break times. Again, the importance of scheduling those breaks into your schedule. I don't think that I have posted it yet, but I recently saw an article that said something about that we are scheduling back-to-back meetings and it's making us dumb, something like that. And so look for that in the community this weekend because I thought that was interesting. There's a lot of brain science around it. Taking breaths for controlled breathing, looking out the windows in between tasks, and really just loving the space that you're in. I have a friend right now who is remodeling her office space because she knows that it's a space she spends a lot of time in, which I think is just a great idea. Repeating a mantra that you love, try unconscious writing, observe an item around you, set gratitude reminders, and finally practice time blocking. So many great ways to be more mindful and to help boost your focus and productivity throughout the day. So Angela, I feel like this is a topic that really connects to you. I hear this topic of like mindfulness and focus and productivity. I just feel like this speaks to you. So I want to come to you first and just kind of see what of those things resonate, or what have you found that really works for you throughout the day?
I like the one about movement breaks. I think especially, recently I've started like just noticing like anxiety sort of subsiding finally. It was really bad over the last year, and I think it's sort of subsiding now. My son's home from school now, so now there's somebody here with me during the day. So maybe that's just part of, just having somebody around, which has been nice. But I do like the movement breaks during the day. I recently have been walking, 4, 5, even 6 days a week, but that's not often enough. Like, it's great to do your walk during the day, but if you're just sitting around the rest of the day with not a lot of movement, that's probably not a good thing. And even my Garmin, it says move. And I usually listen to it. Sometimes I don't, but I'm like, I'm standing in the kitchen, I'm cleaning the kitchen, or but getting that constant movement in. I think we had a guest on the show recently that said, was it Maria, that said, kind of like moving a little bit throughout the day is almost, better for you than being, moving a lot and then being sedentary the rest of the day. So I really do like that. And I think that does help boost your mood and mental well-being. That's a good one for me.
Awesome. Jim, what here connects with you, or what sort of tips or tricks do you have for our viewers on boosting focus and productivity, particularly since you're in the office pretty much full time now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say there's probably two things that sort of like resonate with me. And I think, and if you're fortunate enough to actually have an office with a window, is taking those times to, I think I've mentioned this method before, and it's actually really good for you to do, is that, pretty much every 20 minutes, you should try to stare out of your window or stare out at something 20 feet away for about 20 seconds. I mean, just to take your eyes off the computer for a while, because it's amazing how often, especially when you're doing some task, you can just get bogged in your computer. Next thing you know, you've gone 2-3 hours and you haven't even looked away from your computer screen. So I think that is one that really hits me a lot, is just kind of getting out and just looking away, taking some time to just look away from the computer a little bit. And then I do like the idea of the controlled breathing. Just having some kind of time for just, and it kind of goes back to the 60-second meditation piece too. You could probably combine both of those into one, but, just having that time to just to breathe deep, relax, and just take some time for yourself, even if it's just a minute. It's amazing how helpful it feels.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, Jim, sometimes we think like, oh, I don't have time for that, or I can't do that, or there's just no way. And I don't know, like, the question that I like to ask folks is, what are you going to lose, or what are you missing out on if you don't do that thing? Like, what's the worst that could happen if you took 1 minute, a couple of times throughout the day to do something a little different? Or what's going to happen if you stand up from your desk and walk away from it and just like go outside for a few moments, even if it's only a couple of minutes? Like, what's the worst that will happen? And just recognize that even if it means a couple of more minutes at the end of the day, that at least you have that sort of periodic change of pace throughout the day as well. I think it has a big productivity boost and outcome. I would say for me, it's practicing time blocking. I've been doing that a lot lately, where I will start my workday and not even look at my email, but I'll have like the 1 or 2 or 3 projects that I know I need to get done for that particular day. And I just dive right into that first one. And before I look at anything else, that's what I focus on. And, I've really established an environment with my team and my clients that if you need something out of the ordinary, like email is probably not the way to go, that texting is probably the way to go. And when I check my phone, I don't have any text messages. When I sit down at my computer, like, I'm just going to dive into that project and how quickly I can get that thing done and feel like I have accomplished something very early on in the day, and then kind of work myself into the emails and some of the other things. So time blocking, I think, is really important for me. So Christine, how about you? What of these tips, or what other tips or tricks would you have, do you find helpful to boost your focus and productivity throughout the day?
Well, before we were working from home full time, I was working from home 2 days a week, but not really set up like I should have been. So one of the first things I did was make sure I had an ergonomic stepping room. And I have a 16-year-old dog. So anytime I'd get a break in between calls, especially if they're back to back, I take him out, or I step out onto the front porch because, I'm 5 feet from the door here, but then the sun is shining. I can get some vitamin D for a few minutes without breaking a sweat, step back in. Try to eat my lunch on our screen-in porch sometimes, and just trying to have a change of location. Like, I'm staring at my neighbor's house across the street who did yard work, I think, every day of the pandemic, as long as he could. But I think doing that. And then as far as movement, I know that, when you're hunched at a computer, you're supposed to stretch and put your arms back and, lean on a door frame. So I try to remember to try and do that when I get up and walk around.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Actually,
no,
that
I want to do that right
open
now.
Up your chest, open up your chest muscles. Yeah.
That is exactly
the same thing. Like you were talking about your chiropractor, Aaron. My massage therapist, I've been having problems with my foot and did all this physical therapy. It didn't get any better. And the massage therapist was like, your whole left side is like super tight. And I'm like, oh, you mean this up here is making this down here hurt? Oh, so I think the moral is I need more massages.
Well, you're exactly right. So that's exactly the stretch. He also suggested like laying on the floor, laying on a bed, much like a lotus pose maybe in yoga. Of course, for lotus, you'd put your arms sort of back, but you're exactly right. What he said is he suggested like you're free falling out of an airplane and sort of doing that movement, but laying on your stomach, doing that and sort of lifting your neck and your head and your feet, and doing that for 20 seconds, resting for a minute, and just repeating that cycle. Of course, I'm not a physical therapist or a doctor, but I'm going to start trying these things. He told me that they would be helpful. And it's serendipitous that you all were talking about that today as well. So it's a sign. It's a sign that I just have to do it. I got it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to turn our attention. I teased during our open, Angela, that you recently celebrated a birthday. You also kind of mentioned that you were maybe going to start this journey of 50 things before you turn 50. And I was like, I don't care what you do, but you need to tell us more about this because it sounds so awesome. I was inspired by kind of your story and this approach. So tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah. My birthday was last week, June 3rd. I turned 49. And, I have a friend, I walk with her every day, and she's 9 years older than me. And, she says, if not now, when? Right. And so I said, gosh, there's probably a lot of stuff I could probably, try and do if I really wrote it all down and figured it all out. And I'm like, well, I'm turning 50. So let's see maybe I'll just throw something out there to the world. So I made a post on my personal Facebook page. I'm like, hey, 50 things before I turn 50, new things, maybe a little out of my comfort zone. I'm not talking about jumping out of a plane or anything that would, be to end that whole thing. But I have a strong, I want to make it to 50. So, I have a strong self-preservation sense. So, but I, just different things. And so somebody suggested go for a walk with me in the morning. So I called her up and we went for a walk on Tuesday. And, it wasn't anything, crazy or out of the ordinary, but we got together, we walked, we did 3 miles and it was great, so I don't know. I haven't quite formed the whole list yet. I'm a week in, so I can say I've done one thing on the list so far. But, I had some pretty good suggestions. One was take a weekend away by yourself. And I'm like, oh, that would probably be good, at some point during the summer, or even in the fall, once school gets back in and all the craziness starts happening again. So I haven't decided if I'm gonna I might just write it down or blog it or, maybe podcast it and record with, anybody who offers to do something with me. So we'll see where it goes. I will definitely continue to share.
You could turn it into a fundraiser, Angela, and be like, the highest bidder gets to do this with me.
Ooh.
Ooh, I like that.
I like that.
Angela, I was thinking that, we have told Therese a number of times that we would do that POM course with her. And so we might want to think about resurrecting that and putting that on the list.
Yeah. I was thinking about that last time we talked to her. You're
Just
right.
saying.
You're right. We owe the world our POM workout.
Yes.
We definitely, I don't know. Yeah, that's a strong statement.
We do.
We're gonna move right along. Jim, you mentioned this week something about a self-care checklist. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so a good friend of mine actually had posted this on her Instagram story, and I just thought it was really neat because it's just basically the self-care menu, and it's divided up into 3 different segments. There's a 5-minute segment, a 15-minute segment, 30 minutes. And I'll just quickly go through them because there's not that many. But, the first one was the 5-minute range, and it was essentially, take a few deep breaths, kind of like we were just talking about earlier about the mindfulness things, stretch your body. Again, something we were just talking about, self-care. listen to your favorite song. So those are like three things that you should do every day for about 5 minutes. And then the next one in the 15-minute range was meditate on your purpose, read a chapter of a book, and then journal out your thoughts. So again, three different things that you can do for 15 minutes, pretty straightforward. The next thing was 30 minutes of activities. One, to take a walk outside, get crafty, or cook a new recipe. So those are like three things that you could do that would sort of 30 minutes. So I'll post this in the Facebook group this week, or this weekend maybe. But again, there was just 9 different little things that you can do in 5, 15, 30-minute increments that are just go towards your self-care. And I'm sure any of us could think of different things, but if you think about trying to do at least a few of those every day, it's only maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours of self-care, things that you can do every day to improve yourself. So again, just some helpful tips I thought were pretty neat.
Mine could be get rid of clutter, get rid of a couple of things to do every day. Should be my self-care.
Hey,
I think that's kind of the point, right? Is that self-care you don't have to say, oh, I have a span of an hour time. What am I going to do for myself in that time? I mean, these are things that can be short and brief, and that can be worked in at the end of a long day, can be maybe worked in midday, and just not sort of hold ourselves to the assumption that if we don't have an hour, we can't do something for ourselves, but that, it could be sort of shorter increments. I would be curious, Angela, when you think about your go-to self-care activity, like what's high up on your list?
Stretching at night has been my new favorite thing. Part of my current workout program has up to 10 minutes. They're 7, 8, 9, 10-minute long. And just making time to do that. And it's like a conscious decision to actually stop whatever I'm doing. If I'm just sitting on the couch watching TV with, my husband or my son, scrolling on my phone, I'm like, okay, it's getting too late. It was 8:00 last night. And I'm like, I'm going to bed. And I came upstairs and I put myself to bed. And I'm like, that was self-care enough for me yesterday. It was just a hot day, out, and I'm just like, I'm tired. So, just that kind of thing, just making that conscious decision to actually do something good for yourself, I think is definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah. I put myself to bed this week as well. I said, I'm going to be in bed at 9:00. And Trevor was like, well, does that mean you're going to be sleeping by then? I was like, no, not sleeping, but in bed off my phone, trying. And I just needed to catch up on a little bit of sleep. I think about my self-care, just a random day during the week where nothing's been planned. My self-care activity is just to go outside in the pool. We're very fortunate to have a pool in our backyard, and it's just to take some music, have, a tall glass of ice water, and just kind of enjoy the pool for, it could be even 15 minutes. It's just enough to sort of bring down our temperature after a hot walk at night and just kind of decompress. Christine, you mentioned sort of decluttering space, but, as you think about your go-to self-care activity, what might that look like?
It's funny. I think of spending time with friends because that's something that I've missed so much, and being a parent to 2 small kids and working from home and, not being able to go a lot of places. My self-care is kind of getting a break from my home every day and seeing friends that I haven't seen in a while, or doing things for other people. Is really what I do. I mean, I'll get a massage if I'm in pain. I'll, take care of things like that. But yeah, that's what I enjoy doing.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. I too, when I have that time, I try to schedule monthly massages as well. And I've been doing that for the past couple of months, and it's definitely a game changer for me. Certainly do appreciate the opportunity, to relax and chill out and work some of those tense and apparently anxious muscles that I also need to stretch out more too. Christine, I want to just end today by coming back to you a final time. I know that you've had various health and wellness stops along your journey, and would love for you to tell us maybe about a couple of those.
Well, back in 2017, I went for a routine mammogram at 41 because I'd had a baby at 43. I had a baby at 40 and missed a year or two, and found out that I had breast cancer. It was a stage 0 ductal carcinoma in situ, and ended up 5 surgeries later with a mastectomy. And then when it came time to talk about reconstruction, they were like, well, you can have a procedure where they use your own body, like fat and skin, but you have to have a lower BMI. And so the more research I did, I found out I couldn't even see the plastic surgeon until my BMI is under 35. And so that was about 3 years ago. And so I was like, okay, I know I've got to lose weight for my health and to be able to have this procedure, but I want to do it the right way. I've done so many different things over the years, you name it. And I really just need to find something that would work for me. And so I, excuse me, started off doing a Live Strong program, which is through the YMCA, where you exercise and work out with other cancer survivors, which got me back in the gym, got me feeling comfortable with equipment. I've been one of those people who paid for gym memberships for years and never used them. And then after doing that, I started going and exercising on my own, found the Cancer to 5K group, which is through the Ullman Foundation, where we train to complete a 5K with the group, which got me moving outside. And, you know, if there's a social aspect, I'm going to do it. And was doing really well, consistent with exercising until COVID happened. I'd lost about 20 pounds. And then when COVID happened, I just didn't feel like doing anything, wasn't doing anything, you know, was home. And so recently went back to the gym in January doing some weightlifting and things, and ran across this program a friend had a lot of success with through E2M personal training out of Charlotte. And it's, you know, I can follow a plan. That's one thing I know about myself. If you tell me to do something and I want to do it, I will. It's funny, when I told my husband I had signed up, he's like, you're only going to do it when you want to. I'm like, really? But it's a meal plan combined with exercise, but it's a lot of information. So what I'm doing, this is the fourth week. I'm doing the meal plan portion. Like I told you earlier, I'm not beating myself up if I'm. It's funny. I started it the day before my birthday in May, and I had like 3 cakes that week. So I have all this cake in the freezer. So when I get my celebration meal each weekend, I can pull out a piece of cake. But you know, that's one thing. I'm not a meal prepper. I hate cooking. I hate any of the kitchen. If I could have an in-home chef, I would. But I'm finding that if I just do something each day, like I boil 10 hard-boiled eggs, so I can grab them when I'm taking the kids to swim practice, then I can kind of integrate it. And now, you know, working on my gallon of water a day, just trying to do something that I feel like I'm going to stick to versus, you know, the really quick fixes. So that's where I am now. I got to go back to the exercising piece, but with the kids going to summer camp at the gym starting next month, I'll be there every day to pick them up, and there'll be no excuse not to use the gym.
That's perfect.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I mean, that's very inspirational for people who have been touched by breast cancer and other forms of cancer. And I think there was a National Day of Cancer Recognition for survivors recently. And so to you and to all of those other people, including people in our very own Healthy by Association community who themselves or the family members or friends have been touched by cancer, we're just so proud of you. And if there's anything we can do to support you, please let us know. Thanks so much for coming on the show today. If folks want to connect with you, I think you are in our Healthy by Association Facebook community, and we can find you there, right, Christine?
Yes, you Google my name. Well, if you get my middle name in there, Ryan, Rhyne, then you'll find everything you want to know about me.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us today. We certainly appreciate it. Late breaking, want folks to know that next week, Scott Oser, a longtime friend of the show, will be joining us. So I'm super excited to have him. Also, it's summertime, and so I know your kids are likely out for the summer or about to be out for the summer. We're moving some of these workouts outdoors, and we know that it's hot. And so share with us your questions, your concerns, your resources, tips, tricks to maintain health and wellness over these hot, steamy summer months. But in the meantime, this has been Healthy by Association. Until next week, please remember to power your life with health, wellness, and intention. See you next week, everyone.